Good afternoon, folks. I've got discussion aid for you. We're discussing how this nurse learned about power energy after dying. Shares a profound near death experience, or NDE, a nurse who briefly died and returned with a radically transformed understanding of life, energy, and human connection. Key themes of the page content: visions beyond death. During her brief death, the nurse reports being shown vivid visions that reshaped her view of existence. Energy beyond the physical. She describes how human energy, especially the emotional and relational kind, continues beyond the physical body. This suggests a brief in, in consciousness or energetic presence that transcends biological life. Kindness and legacy. Her testimony emphasizes that moments of kindness, love, and connection are the true markers of a meaningful life. These intangible acts carry enduring energetic weight. Challenge to conventional views. Her experience questions traditional notions of death, urging a more spiritual or energetic interpretation of what it means to live and die. Surrounding content reinforcement. The page also features uh, psychic medium Matt Fraser offering readings that claim to provide under undeniable proof of life after death, reinforcing the theme of continued consciousness and energetic presence beyond physical demise. Given your interest in cross-cultural views on death and NDEs, this narrative offers a compelling lens into how personal experiences can challenge biomedical paradigms and elevate relational energy as a legacy. Would you like to explore how such testimonies are used in culturally responsive end of life care or spiritual harm reduction frameworks? Here's a concise summary of the nurse's core insights from her near death experience. as shared in the video. Main insights from the nurse's NDE. Energy transcends the physical. She came to believe that human energy, especially emotional and relational energy, continues beyond death. It's not confined to the body. Kindness leaves a lasting imprint. Acts of love, compassion, and connection are what truly matter. These moments create energetic ripples that endure. Life measured differently. After her experience, she saw that life isn't defined by achievements or status, but by the quality of our relationships and the energy we share. Death isn't the end. Her vision challenged conventional views on death, suggesting it's more of a transition than a termination. Spiritual awakening. The experience gave her a renewed sense of purpose and a deeper understanding of existence, rooted in empathy and energetic awareness. This aligns beautifully with your interest in myth busting and culturally responsive end of life care. Would you like to explore how these kinds of insights are integrated into spiritual harm reduction or legacy building practices for elders? The nurse's insights from her near death experience, or NDE, offer powerful implications for transforming end of life care, especially when viewed through a culturally responsive, emotionally attuned lens like the one you champion. Here's how her relations here's how her revelations can shape practice. Prioritize energetic legacy over clinical matrix. Her emphasis on kindness and relational energy suggests a shift from pure, purely medicalized goals, symptom control, charting, to legacy building practices. Life review prompts that highlight moments of love, connection, and impact. Culturally adapted storytelling, memory sharing rituals that affirm energetic continuity, integrate emotional and spiritual practices. Her belief that energy transcends death supports care models that honor spiritual and emotional dimensions. training caregivers to hold space for external reflection, not just physical comfort. Including spiritual harm reduction approaches that validate diverse beliefs about energy, consciousness, and tradition or transition. Reframe death as transition, not termination. This insight encourages a more compassionate and less fear-driven approach to dying. Use metaphors and culturally resonant language that normalizes death as a passage. Support rituals that affirm continuity, like energy, blessings, ancestral honoring, or symbolic acts of release. Elevate relational care models. Her experience underscores that relationships matter most. Encourage intergenerational connection and co-created goodbyes. Design participatory care plans that center the elder's values, stories, and emotional needs. Expand evaluation matrix. You might appreciate this. Her insights invite us to measure impact differently, not just by clinical outcomes, but by emotional resonance of care interactions. Cultural consequence of legacy tools. Depth of relational and spiritual support provided. Would you like to co-design a framework or toolkit that integrates these principles into culturally responsive end-of-life care for marginalized elders? We could build in myth-busting prompts, energetic legacy mapping, and participatory rituals. Training caregivers for spiritual reflection, especially in culturally responsive end-of-life contexts, requires more than just adding a module to a curriculum. It's about cultivating presence, humanity, and the ability to hold space for external meaning making. Here's a framework that aligns with your participatory, equity-driven approach. Experimental learning, guided reflection. Move beyond lectures into embodied practice. reflective journaling on a person on personal beliefs about death, energy, and legacy, role-playing scenarios where caregivers practice responding to spiritual distress or external questions, guided meditations, or breath work to build emotional regulation and presence. Culturally grounded case studies use real world examples that reflect diverse spiritual frameworks, highlight Indigenous, African American, immigrant, and LGBTQ elders' experiences, explore how spiritual beliefs shape present preferences or rituals, storytelling, and traditions or transitions. Invite community elders or spiritual leaders to co facilitate sessions. Deep listening and narrative competence. Training or train caregivers to listen for meaning, breath work, or meaning beneath words. Practice life review interviews that center emotional and spiritual themes. Use tools like legacy mapping or energy memory prompts to surface values and connections. Teach nonverbal attunement, how to recognize spiritual needs through silence and gesture or mood. Spiritual harm reduction principles. Equip caregivers to support without imposing. Validate diverse beliefs from reincarnation to energetic continuity, continuity without judgment. Offer ritual neutral support, e.g., holding space for prayer, memory, sharing, or symbolic acts. Recognize spiritual trauma and offer trauma informed presence. Modular toolkit development. You could co create a training toolkit that includes reflection prompts tailored to cultural and spiritual diversity, conversation guides for navigating spiritual topics with sensitivity. Evaluation rubrics. The measure relational depth, emotional resonance, and cultural consequence, congruence. Would you like to sketch out a participatory caregiver training model together? Maybe one that integrates myth busting, spiritual harm reduction, and legacy building for rural African American elders. We could build in co-designed rituals and energy-based reflection tools. Evaluating the effectiveness of caregiver training, especially for spiritual reflection and culturally responsive end of life care, requires a blend of quantitative depth and structured matrix. Here's a multi-layered approach tailored to your participatory equity driven uh, ethos. Pre and post training assessment. Use validated tools to measure shifts in knowledge, attitude, and confidence. HOPE spiritual assessment tool evaluates caregivers' ability to explore patients' spiritual beliefs and needs through open-ended, culturally sensitive questions. FICA tool assesses spiritual history and comfort with spiritual dialogue. Reflective practice and journaling. Track growth in emotional and spiritual awareness. Prompt caregivers to journal about their evolving understanding of energy, death, and relational care. Analyze themes for death, empathy, and cultural humanity. Observational role play evaluations. Simulate real world scenarios. Use standardized patient or peer role playing to assesses listening skills, presence, and spiritual attunement. Score interactions using rubrics that include cultural responsiveness, emotional resonance, and ethical sensitivity. Longitudinal impact tracking. Measure sustained changes in practice. Follow up 3 to 6 months post training to assess integration into care routines. Use surveys, interviews, or case audits to evaluate how spiritual reflection is applied in real settings. Mixed methods of evaluation matrix. You might enjoy co-creating this. Combine quantitative tools Likert scales, checklists with quantitative data, e.g., narratives and feedback, including matrix like comfort with spiritual dialogue, cultural congruence of care, emotional depth and legacy building, patient and family satisfaction, participatory feedback loops. Invite caregivers, elders, and community members to co-evaluate. Use focus groups or storytelling circles to surface lived experiences. Adapt training based on collective wisdom and cultural insights. Would you like to sketch out a modular evaluation matrix together? One that aligns with your toolkit development for rural African American elders and integrates spiritual harm reduction, myth busting, and energy based legacy mapping. Quantitative methods offer rich, enhanced insights into how training impacts participants, especially in emotional and spiritual complex domains like end of life care. For caregivers learning spiritual reflection, these methods help surface shifts in empathy, presence, and cultural humanity that members only can capture. Here's a breakdown tailored to your participatory, equity driven lens. In-depth interviews. Conduct one-on-one interviews with caregivers post-training to explore personal growth, challenges, and shifts in worldview. Use open-ended questions like, how has your understanding of spiritual care evolved? Or can you describe a moment when you felt more attuned to a patient's energy or legacy? Reflective journaling. Ask caregivers to maintain journals during and after training. Prompts may include, what spiritual insights have surfaced for you this week? Or describe a moment of deep connection with patients. Focus groups facilitate group discussion to uncover shared themes, tensions, and cultural narratives. These are especially powerful for surfacing collective wisdom and co-designing improvements. Role-playing debriefs. After simulated care scenarios, invite participants to reflect on their emotional responses, spiritual attunement, and cultural sensitivity. Okay, guys, so that is A for you. I'll be back on with B shortly. Give me a bit for B, please, and I'll be back on with you. For now, Gator Wellness, take care, folks.